The courier materialized at my desk like a ghost in a brown uniform, thrusting his electronic signature pad toward me. Camille Morgan? My pen hovered over the glowing screen. Something cold slithered down my spine, a warning signal I'd learned to trust after years of analyzing investment risks. But what risk could a simple envelope pose? I scrawled my signature, and he handed over a crisp manila envelope bearing the return address of Peterson and Walsh, attorneys at law. Everything okay, Camille? My colleague Steve peered over his monitor, brows furrowed. Fine, I murmured, turning the envelope in my hands. The paper felt expensive, heavy with unspoken threats. The first line of black text punched the air from my lungs. Petition for conservatorship. My fingers went numb. The words blurred, then snapped into devastating focus. Mental instability, financially reckless behavior, immediate intervention required. The date on the petition was yesterday. The petitioners were listed as Susan Morgan and Daniel Morgan, my own parents. Coffee churned in my stomach. I pushed back from my desk, the wheels of my chair squeaking against marble flooring. Excuse me, I whispered to no one in particular and went to the bathroom. The bathroom door clicked shut behind me, its echo bouncing off pristine tiles. I gripped the marble counter, staring at my reflection. Same navy blazer I'd worn 100 times. Same neat bun. Same composed expression I'd perfected through countless client meetings. 7 days. That's all it had taken them to do this. Last Sunday's dinner flashed through my mind. Mother's dining room, with its gleaming silverware and pressed linens. The neighbors dropped by unexpectedly, as they always did when Blake was pitching his latest scheme. The practiced smiles, the choreographed small talk. The Morgans, Mrs. Henderson had gushed. Such a lovely, close-knit family. If she'd looked closer, she might have noticed Mother's fingers drumming against her wineglass. The way Father studied his coffee cup as if it held tomorrow's stock prices. The sharp angles of Blake's smile as he lounged in his usual spot, one foot propped on the antique ottoman Mother, usually guarded like a sentinel. It's revolutionary, Blake had announced over dessert, his voice carrying that familiar manic energy. An entrepreneur platform that connects visionary startups with. With what? The words had slipped out before I could stop them. With other people's money? Mother's spoon had clinked against her crystal dessert bowl. Camille. But something had shifted inside me, a lifetime of careful compliance crumbling like the untouched tiramisu before me. How much this time, Blake? He'd blinked, that practiced innocence I'd watched him perfect since childhood. Just 18,000, seed money really, a drop in the bucket for someone like you, sis. No. The word had fallen between us like a stone in still water. Mother's teacup froze halfway to her lips. Father's newspaper crinkled as his hands tightened. No? Blake's voice climbed an octave. What do you mean, no? I mean no, not this time, not ever again. Mother set down her cup, the porcelain meeting its saucer with deliberate precision. Camille, dear, after everything we've done for you. Everything you've done? The laugh that burst from me sounded foreign, almost wild. Let's talk about what you've done. Connect Circle. $8,000. Mind Thrive. 10,000. Legacy Lane. Another 18,000. All my money. Funding Blake's ventures. Remember when you took 8,000 from my college fund without asking? For Blake's emergency. You think you're better than family now? Blake's face had flushed red. Little Miss Perfect with her fancy job and her downtown apartment? I'd stood then, my chair scraping against Mother's precious hardwood floors. I think I'm done. If you walk out that door, Mother's voice had carried that special venom she reserved for her greatest manipulations. You'll regret it. Now, staring at my reflection in the office bathroom, I understood exactly what she'd meant. The conservatorship papers trembled in my hands. They'd cited my unstable behavior and financially reckless decisions, including, of all things, the purchase of my living room couch. $2,800 of carefully saved money, spent on something beautiful just for me. The first tear slid down my cheek, dropping onto the legal papers. I watched it spread across the word unstable, warping the letters. My mother's voice echoed in my head. You'll regret it. A bitter smile tugged at my lips as I wiped away the tear. No, Mother, you will. Because they didn't just want my money anymore. They wanted everything. My bank accounts, my job, my apartment, my right to make my own decisions. My entire life, wrapped up in legal papers and tied with government ribbons. In the mirror, my reflection straightened her spine. The woman staring back at me looked nothing like the good daughter who'd spent 30 years trying to earn her family's love with cash and compliance. She looked like someone ready to fight. That same night at my home, my living room window framed Chicago's evening skyline, each twinkling light a star I'd wished on as a child. The conservatorship papers sprawled across my coffee table, black text stark against crisp white. 3 hours of internet research had turned my stomach to lead. Complete control of finances, authority over medical decisions, power to determine residence. The words blurred before my eyes. They could sell my apartment, close my bank accounts, even decide where I worked. My fingers traced the edge of my couch, the beautiful charcoal sectional I'd saved 6 months to buy. According to their petition, this purchase proved my financial instability. Grandmother's voice whispered from memory. Watch how Susan treats her sister Eleanor. The words carried new weight now, heavy with warning I'd been too young to understand. My mother hadn't just pushed her sister away, she'd erased her. My laptop screen glowed with tabs of legal articles, but my mind wandered back through years of calculated exploitation, each memory rising like bile in my throat. Age 13. Standing in the driveway, birthday card from Aunt Margaret still warm in my hands. Inside, $40 enough for the silver bracelet I'd circled in every catalog for months. Blake needs money for robotics camp, Mother had said, palm extended. You want your brother to have opportunities, don't you? Age 17. Tracy Martinez's desperate calls about prom dress shopping. Blake's SAT scores weren't what we hoped. Mother's voice dripped honey, sweet poison. The tutor costs more than we expected. You understand, don't you, sweetheart? College acceptance letter clutched in trembling hands. The savings account showing $8,000 vanished overnight. Your brother had an emergency, Father mumbled, eyes fixed on his newspaper. Family helps family. I grabbed my old storage box from the hall closet, its cardboard edges soft with age. Inside, a stack of bank statements told the story in merciless detail. Connect Circle, $8,000. Blake's social media platform for conscious entrepreneurs. Lasted 3 months before the domain expired. MindThrive, $10,000. His meditation app that never made it past the planning stage. Legacy Lane, $18,000. The revolutionary blockchain solution that turned out to be a glorified pyramid scheme. Mother's face floated before me, perfectly arranged features masked in perpetual concern, every manipulation crafted with surgical precision. And Father, forever hiding behind his coffee cup, signing whatever paper she placed before him. The Christmas card caught my eye, tucked in the box's corner. Aunt Eleanor's elegant handwriting, address, and phone number are preserved like a time capsule. My throat tightened as I dialed, each number a small rebellion. 3 rings. 4. Then. Eleanor Winters. Aunt Eleanor? This is Camille Morgan. My voice cracked on our shared last name. Silence stretched between us, thin as tissue paper. Then, soft and wondering, you sound just like your grandmother. I need help. The words tumbled out, years of careful control crumbling. They're trying to take everything. Mother and Father filed for conservatorship, claiming I'm mentally unstable because I wouldn't give Blake more money, and I don't know what to do, and... Slow down, sweetheart. Her voice carried steel beneath its gentleness. I'm an attorney, elder law specialist, actually. Tell me everything. The story spilled out in raw, messy chunks. With each detail, her breathing grew more controlled, more purposeful. I was erased from the family too, she said finally. Susan didn't want anyone questioning her authority, especially not a sister who saw through her games. How bad is this? I whispered. The conservatorship? Bad. Papers rustled on her end. They could control your bank accounts, your job, where you live. They're already laying groundwork. I'm guessing Susan's calling your workplace, expressing concerns about your mental state? My hand flew to my mouth. Karen from HR had mentioned a worried call from your mother just that morning. Your friend's getting strange calls too? Tracy's voicemail flashed through my mind. Your mom called. She's really worried about you. Are you okay? I know someone, Eleanor said. Martha Reynolds, specialized attorney who handles cases like this. We should meet. Tomorrow, if possible. The next day, after the work was done, I sat in Martha's office, walls lined with law degrees and case citations. Her eyes sparked as she reviewed the documents. This is one of the most blatant abuse attempts I've seen. She tapped her pen against the petition. Financial exploitation masquerading as concern. We'll file a motion to delay the hearing, gather evidence of their pattern of behavior. Relief loosened my shoulders, but Eleanor's frown stopped it cold. There's something about the timing that doesn't add up. She pulled an old photo from her briefcase, mother and father on their wedding day. Camille, have you ever seen your original birth certificate? The question hit like a slap. Only the copy mother keeps in the family files. Why? Eleanor's eyes met Martha's. Something unspoken passed between them. Because, Eleanor said carefully, I think we've just scratched the surface of Susan Morgan's lies. We talked about our future arrangements, and I went home to try to find more evidence for their lies. But I could not shake off the strange feeling of their look, and probably a web of lies. The following morning, the voicemail light on my office phone blinks red, a digital heartbeat of dread. 3 messages since lunch. Each one is from my father, his voice stretched thin with artificial concern. Sweetheart, we just want to help. Call us. Delete. Your mother is beside herself with worry. Delete. Blake says you haven't been yourself lately. My finger hovers over the delete button, but I save this one. Evidence. The word tastes bitter, like medicine. How strange to gather proof against the people who taught me to walk, to read, to trust. My computer screen glows with an email from HR. Subject line, wellness check request, confidential. Mother's handiwork. The careful insertion of doubt into my professional world, like poison in a cup of tea. Your dedication to maintaining normalcy is admirable, writes Susan Morgan, concerned parent, but perhaps masking deeper issues. I print the email, add it to the growing folder on my desk, labeled with today's date. Inside, screenshots of Blake's social media posts about his troubled sister, time-stamped voicemails from mother about my concerning behavior, bank records showing years of one-sided financial support. My phone buzzes. A text from Rachel, my college roommate. Blake stopped by the cafe, said you're going through something, call me. The walls of my office shrink. I grab my keys, my coat, the evidence folder. The elevator feels too small, too slow. In the parking garage, I lean against my car, gulping autumn air that tastes like metal. Camille? Eleanor stands beside her silver Volvo, briefcase in hand. My aunt's presence steadies me, a lighthouse in the storm. They're moving faster than we expected, she says, studying my face. Let's go see Martha. Martha Reynolds' law office smells like leather and lemon polish. The conference room table gleams, reflecting our faces as we spread out the evidence. Martha's fingers move over documents with mechanical precision, her red reading glasses perched on her nose. They're creating a paper trail, she says. Every call, every post, every concerned inquiry builds their narrative of instability. She taps my bank statement. But this tells a different story, 10 years of systematic financial pressure. Eleanor's jaw tightens. The emergency hearing is tomorrow. Susan's pushing to expedite everything. Good. Martha's smile reminds me of a shark. Let them rush. Desperation makes people sloppy. The next morning, courtroom B looms like a church. Dark wood panels, high ceiling, the same judge who approved 3 of Blake's bankruptcies. Mother sits in the front row, wearing her Sunday best. Pearl earrings, subtle makeup, gold cross necklace. The perfect picture of maternal worry. Blake slouches beside her in a suit that costs more than my monthly mortgage. Father shifts in his seat, tugging at his collar, eyes down. The family tableau arranged for maximum sympathy. Your Honor. Mother's voice quavers with rehearsed emotion. We've watched our daughter's decline with growing alarm, the isolation, the erratic spending, the sudden hostility toward family. My hands clench under the table. Eleanor touches my arm, steadying. Blake takes the stand next, his testimony a masterpiece of concerned brotherhood. She works constantly, lives alone, barely calls anymore. Last month, she spent almost $3,000 on a couch. It's not like her, Your Honor. We're worried she's having some kind of breakdown. Martha stands, her heels clicking against marble. Your Honor, I'd like to present evidence of the petitioner's systematic financial exploitation of my client. She projects my bank records onto the courtroom screen. 10 years of transactions, highlighted in angry red. Mother's face tightens. Blake's slouch stiffens. $8,000 withdrawn without authorization during the defendant's college years. 10 separate emergency transfers to Blake Morgan's accounts. Multiple credit cards opened in miss. Morgan's name without her knowledge. This isn't concern for mental health, Your Honor. This is retaliation for my client finally saying no. The judge peers over his glasses at Mother. Mrs. Morgan, can you provide specific examples of unstable behavior beyond purchasing furniture and maintaining a successful career? Mother's fingers worry her necklace. She's different, Your Honor, withdrawn. She used to be such a good daughter. Different how? Mother's voice falters. She's never been so assertive before. The judge's pen taps his desk. Miss Morgan, your workplace performance reviews? I straighten in my chair. Exemplary, Your Honor. I was promoted last quarter. Your financial records show no unusual patterns beyond this furniture purchase? No, Your Honor. I maintain detailed budgets and investment portfolios. Medical history? Clean bill of health, including recent psychological evaluation. Martha slides another document forward. Her therapist's assessment of sound judgment and emotional well-being. The judge removes his glasses, rubbing the bridge of his nose. Mrs. Morgan, Mr. Morgan, buying a couch does not indicate mental instability. Working hard and living independently are not signs of decline. He shuffles papers. I'm ordering a comprehensive financial investigation before proceeding further. This hearing is adjourned. Mother's face crumples like wet paper. Father stares at his hands. Blake is already heading for the door. Later, Eleanor and I sit in a booth at Miller's Diner. The vinyl seats crack when we move. Coffee grows cold between us. Did you see Mom's face? A laugh bubbles up, surprising me. When the judge mentioned financial investigation? Eleanor's eyes crinkle. You know something? You look exactly like your grandmother when you smile. She had that same steel in her spine. The laugh dissolves into tears. They fall silent and hot, staining the paper napkin in my lap. I always thought something was wrong with me. Why I was never enough. Why they always needed more. Eleanor reaches across the table, her hand covering mine. Nothing is wrong with you, Camille. Something is wrong with them. That evening, Eleanor makes calls to old family connections while I sort through decades of documents. The truth of us, written in paper and ink. Mother's careful cursive on birthday cards. We know you'll do the right thing, sweetheart. Blake's hasty scrawl on IOs. Just until my next big break, sis. Later at my home, Martha's email arrives at midnight. She's requesting sealed records from the family trust. Something about the timing nags at me, an echo of Eleanor's earlier questions. I focus on more documents and try to find what I am missing, but unsuccessfully. The next morning, while preparing for work, my phone lights up. Eleanor. Camille. Her voice sounds strange, tight, with something I can't name. The court records just arrived. You need to see this, right now. What is it? Paper rustles through the speaker. 2 birth certificates, the original and a legally altered version from 1998. The floor shifts under my feet. What do you mean, altered? Come over. There's something you need to know about who you really are. I called my team to say I cannot make it today due to a family emergency, so I went straight to my aunt's office. An hour later, the birth certificate trembled in my hands. 2 versions lay side by side on Eleanor's mahogany desk, stark government letterhead announcing 2 different truths. 1992 original filing, Eleanor murmured, tapping the first document, and 1998 revision. Her fingers slid to the second paper, where Daniel Morgan's name replaced a different father's signature. My stomach clenched. They changed it without telling me? There's more. Eleanor pulled another stack of papers from her briefcase. Your grandmother's will and trust documents. Half of a $400,000 family trust was earmarked specifically for you. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of her desk, steadying myself. What happened to it? Eleanor's face hardened. Our forensic accountant traced every disbursement. Blake received 90% of the funds over the past 8 years. The rest went to covering his legal fees when those ventures collapsed. A bitter laugh escaped me. So that's where his startup money came from, my inheritance. The phone on Eleanor's desk buzzed. Her secretary's voice crackled through the speaker. Mrs. Morgan on line 1, she says it's urgent. Decline, Eleanor said. And Sarah? No more calls from the Morgan family unless it's through their attorney. The line clicked dead. Eleanor leaned back, studying me. They're getting desperate. Daniel called me directly this morning, pleading to keep this private, as if privacy was ever about protecting you. I pulled up Blake's Facebook profile on my phone. The posts from last week about my concerning behavior and mental health crisis had vanished. My brother, ever the opportunist, was already scrubbing his digital trail. Their attorney sent this an hour ago. Eleanor slid a thick envelope across her desk. Settlement offer with a non-disclosure agreement. Very generous terms, apparently. I didn't touch it. They're scared. They should be. Eleanor's smile held no warmth. Susan's bridge club suddenly has scheduling conflicts. Blake's investor meetings keep getting canceled. Even Daniel's colleagues are starting to whisper. The carefully constructed Morgan family image was cracking. No wonder Mother looked haunted at the country club last weekend, her usual crowd suddenly finding urgent business elsewhere. Martha filed our counter petition this morning. Eleanor pulled up a document on her computer, turning the screen so I could see. Full financial audit. Investigation into fraudulent documents. And a subpoena for Jessica. My head snapped up. Blake's ex-girlfriend? Why? Because she witnessed him stealing your identity. Credit cards, loan applications. Eleanor's eyes gleamed. And she's finally ready to talk. The familiar ding of an incoming email cut through the tension. Eleanor clicked, then let out a low whistle. Well, Susan just had a panic attack when they served her the financial investigation notice. They took her out of the country club in an ambulance. Is she okay? The question slipped out before I could stop it. She'll live, unlike her reputation. Eleanor's voice softened. You don't have to care about them anymore, Camille. They certainly never cared about protecting you. My phone buzzed. Daniel's number flashed on the screen, followed by a text. Your mother went too far, I'm sorry. Little late for that, I muttered, declining the call. Eleanor's secretary buzzed again. Blake Morgan's attorney just withdrew from the case, and Mr. Morgan Sr. is in the lobby. He's quite insistent about speaking with Miss Winters. I met Eleanor's questioning look and shook my head. I can't. Not yet. She nodded, pressing the intercom. Tell Mr. Morgan our schedule is full. He's welcome to contact Martha directly. Through the frosted glass walls of Eleanor's office, I watched Daniel's silhouette hesitate, then slowly walk away, his shoulders slumped in a way I'd never seen before. They're unraveling, Eleanor observed. Susan and Daniel were screaming at each other outside the courthouse this morning. Blake's gone completely dark, won't answer anyone's calls, and your parents' friends are starting to reach out to me privately. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Daniel. There are things you should know. I started to delete it, then stopped. What aren't they telling me? We're about to find out. Eleanor glanced at her watch. Jessica should be here any minute. Right on cue, a soft knock at the door. Eleanor's secretary ushered in a petite woman with anxious eyes and perfectly manicured nails. Jessica looked exactly as I remembered her from Blake's college graduation, down to the nervous habit of checking over her shoulder. Thank you for coming. Eleanor gestured to the chair beside me. You're safe here. Jessica perched on the edge of the seat, clutching her designer purse like a shield. Her eyes darted between us before fixing on the floor. Blake didn't just use your identity for credit cards, she whispered. With trembling fingers, she withdrew a flash drive from her purse and placed it on Eleanor's desk. The small device seemed to pulse with dark possibilities. He's been doing it to others too. The words hung in the air like smoke, acrid and suffocating. I stared at the flash drive, remembering every time Blake had borrowed my laptop, every casual request for my social security number for insurance paperwork, every joke about how he could forge my signature better than I could. How many others? Eleanor's voice was very quiet. Jessica's answer shattered what remained of my childhood illusions. All of them. Every girlfriend, every business partner, every friend who ever trusted him, and your parents knew. They helped him cover it up every single time. The family secret wasn't that I was the responsible one, the dutiful daughter who needed to be controlled for her own good. The secret was that I was the only one who'd ever said no. A week later, the courtroom loomed like a cathedral of broken promises. Marble columns stretched toward a coffered ceiling where morning light filtered through leaded windows, casting Susan Morgan's pewter hair in an almost saintly glow. She'd chosen a modest slate skirt suit that whispered "concerned mother" in every careful pleat. I smoothed my hands over my leather portfolio, fingertips catching on the brass corners. Eleanor sat beside me, her shoulder a steady pressure against mine. The mahogany bench creaked as she leaned forward to whisper, "Remember, let them talk themselves into corners." My mother's performance began the moment Judge Harrison entered. She dabbed invisible tears with an embroidered handkerchief, while the family's attorney painted me as an unstable workaholic whose concerning behaviors required immediate intervention. "Mrs. Morgan, tell us about your daughter's recent changes in personality," their lawyer prompted. Susan's voice wavered with practiced vulnerability. "She's become so cold, Your Honor, hostile. When Blake needed a small business loan just $18,000, she refused." Her own brother. She pressed the handkerchief to her lips. The couch was the final sign, $2,800 on a single piece of furniture. Our Camille was always so sensible before. The judge's pen scratched against his notepad. His weathered face revealed nothing. Blake testified next, all polished charm in his borrowed suit. "I've watched my sister spiral for years," he said, hands spread in rehearsed concern. The isolation, the obsession with work, the paranoid accusations about money. He shook his head. "We just want to help before she loses everything." Daniel shifted in his seat, tugging at his collar. When called to testify, his voice emerged thin and distant. "We've had growing concerns, for years really. The way she lives alone, works such long hours." Their family doctor droned about stress-related concerns noted in my chart. A parade of carefully selected character witnesses described my worrying transformation from dutiful daughter to cold career woman. I watched it all through a lens of crystalline rage, each lie another brick in the wall they'd built to cage me. Eleanor's hand found mine under the table when Susan's lawyer moved to seal the proceedings to protect Camille's privacy. The judge denied the motion with a sharp rap of his gavel. Then Martha Reynolds rose, my portfolio in her hands. "Your Honor, we've prepared a comprehensive response to these allegations." She placed a thick binder before him. "But first, I'd like to address a rather shocking discovery about the Morgan family dynamic." Susan's spine stiffened. Daniel's face drained of color. Martha's heels clicked against marble as she approached the bench. "Exhibit A. DNA results confirming Daniel Morgan is not Miss Morgan's biological father, despite his name appearing on modified birth records in 1998. She turned to face my parents. Would anyone care to explain why these documents were altered? The courtroom air grew thick with unspoken accusations. Susan's handkerchief trembled. "Moving to Exhibit B." Martha's voice cut through the silence. "Financial forensics detailing systematic misappropriation of a trust fund meant for Camille Morgan." She placed another document before the judge. $400,000, Your Honor. Diverted to Blake Morgan's failed business ventures over 8 years. Blake's charm cracked. He shot a panicked look at Susan. "Exhibit C." Martha nodded to the bailiff, who opened the courtroom doors. Jessica Chen walked in, her dark eyes fixed on Blake. Testimony regarding Mr. Morgan's pattern of identity theft, beginning with his sister's social security number. Objection. The family's lawyer surged to his feet. "This witness is perfectly relevant," Judge Harrison cut in, "given the Morgan family's claims about their daughter's financial judgment." He gestured for Jessica to take the stand. She spoke quietly but firmly about Blake using my information for credit cards, loans, even apartment applications. About overhearing Susan coaching Blake on how to phrase his emergency requests. About Daniel's silent complicity in it all. Martha produced emails between my parents discussing how to manage Camille's money, bank records showing they knew about Blake's identity theft. A recording of Susan telling Blake, "Just ask for 18,000. She won't miss it if we frame it right." With each revelation, my mother's composure cracked further. The careful mask of concern splintered into something raw and ugly. When Martha played the recording, Susan's face contorted. "You ungrateful little." She bit off the words, but the venom in her voice echoed through the courtroom. "Mrs. Morgan." Judge Harrison's tone could have frozen flame. "I suggest you consider your next words very carefully." Daniel broke first. "Susan handled all of it," he whispered, shoulders slumping. "The trust fund, Blake's loans, everything. I just signed what she put in front of me." "You spineless," Susan whirled on him, then caught herself. But it was too late. Blake tried to slip toward the doors. The bailiff's hand landed heavy on his shoulder. Judge Harrison spent long minutes reviewing the evidence, his expression darkening with each page. When he looked up, his eyes held steel. "This petition for conservatorship is dismissed with prejudice." The gavel cracked like thunder. "Furthermore, I am referring this matter to the District Attorney's Office for criminal investigation into document falsification, financial fraud, identity theft, and attempted exploitation." Susan collapsed into sobs that shook her entire body. Daniel sat motionless, aging decades in moments. Blake struggled against the bailiff's grip, protest dying on his lips. I felt nothing. No triumph, no satisfaction, not even relief. Just a vast, echoing emptiness where family should have been. Outside the courtroom, a man in a charcoal suit approached. "Miss Morgan? Robert Chen, District Attorney's Office. We'll need your cooperation for the criminal case." I watched my family being led away, Susan still weeping, Daniel shuffling like a ghost, Blake in handcuffs. The perfect family portrait, finally showing its true colors. "Is it wrong that I feel nothing for them now?" I asked Eleanor as their footsteps faded. She squeezed my shoulder. "No, honey. Sometimes nothing is the healthiest thing you can feel." The morning light spilled through the courthouse windows, painting long shadows across marble floors. Somewhere in the city, my empty apartment waited, my expensive couch, my quiet, peaceful life that belonged only to me. I straightened my spine and turned away from the shadows. There would be paperwork to file, statements to give, a long road of legal proceedings ahead. But for the first time since the courier had appeared at my desk with that manila envelope, I could breathe. They had tried to declare me unfit. Instead, they had made me free. And I want the following year to keep both my freedom and peace. A year later, the city stretches before me like a glittering promise, each light a star I can finally reach. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my new apartment, Chicago unfolds 40 stories below, a testament to possibilities I never dared imagine a year ago. My fingertips trace the elegant frame holding my name change certificate, Camille Winters. The glass reflects my smile, genuine and unguarded. Gone are the stiff furniture pieces Mother insisted would build character. In their place, artwork from local galleries brings warmth to pale walls. Travel photographs my first solo trip to Vancouver, weekend escapes to small Midwest towns tell stories of a woman who chooses her own adventures. The investment portfolio on my tablet shows numbers that once seemed impossible, not just the trust fund restitution, but the fruits of a decade of careful planning. Each digit represents a choice mine alone. A knock at the door announces Eleanor, holding a box of Earl Grey and wearing that knowing smile I've come to treasure. "Ready for this?" The cardboard box by the fireplace holds the last fragments of Camille Morgan. Years of journals, their pages heavy with desperate wishes, photos spanning 3 decades of calculated family portraits. Eleanor settles into the armchair nearby, her presence as steady as her legal strategies were brilliant. "Listen to this gem." I pull out a journal from high school, its cover worn thin. "Maybe if I work harder, they'll love me like they love Blake." God, I actually believed that. The page catches quickly in the fireplace. Orange flames lick at teenage hopes, turning them to ash. Eleanor watches, her eyes bright with understanding. "You know what your grandmother told me once? Some people mistake control for love because they never learn the difference. I feed another journal to the flames. Got promoted today. Susan called to remind me about Blake's new business idea. Only 10,000 this time. The paper curls and blackens. What a bargain. My therapist's latest notes sit on the coffee table, marking progress in professional shorthand. Next to them, a news clipping. Local entrepreneur faces probation for identity fraud. Blake's mugshot glares up from the page, his trademark confidence finally cracked. Below that, the divorce filing Susan Morgan versus Daniel Morgan. Turns out fraud charges have a way of straining marriages. Speaking of progress, Eleanor retrieves a small velvet box from her bag. I had this restored. The ring catches light from the fireplace grandmother's wedding band, its Art Deco design delicate against my palm. How did you? Found it in a safety deposit box with her original will. She wanted you to have it. Eleanor's voice carries the weight of vindication. Susan could hide the truth, but she couldn't erase everything. Later that evening, my living room fills with the kind of laughter that comes from genuine joy, not social obligation. My closest friends raise glasses, their warmth having nothing to do with the wine. To the family we choose, Eleanor proposes, not the family we're given. The foundation paperwork sits on my desk, waiting for Monday signatures. Financial Abuse Recovery Network. Simple letterhead, profound purpose. Yesterday, I spoke at my first support group. Watched understanding dawn in another woman's eyes as she recognized her own story in mine. Handed her Martha's card, watched hope replace resignation. The letter arrives on a Tuesday. Daniel's handwriting on the envelope slanted and uncertain. His words probably mirror the same uncertain explanations, apologies, request to meet. The paper feels expensive, like mother's dining room stationery. I stand at my window, Chicago spread out below like a map of possibilities. The sunset paints everything in shades of promise. Without opening the letter, I walk to the building's mailroom, drop it in the return box, and feel nothing but peace. My grandmother's ring catches the last light as I step onto my balcony. The city awakens for evening, each light below marking someone's story, someone's truth. My new journal waits inside, its first page already bearing witness. Today begins the rest of my life. Stars emerge above the skyline, impossibly bright against the urban glow. The wind carries autumn's first hint of crispness, and I breathe it in deeply. Mother always said Morgan women don't stand alone on balconies at night. But I'm not a Morgan anymore. I'm Camille Winters, and I'm exactly where I belong. Sometimes family isn't your safe place. It's your test. And survival doesn't mean silence. It means finally choosing yourself loudly, legally, and without apology. A shooting star streaks across the sky, and for the first time in my life, I don't waste a wish on anyone's love but my own.